So he said, Madhur, तू हर टाइप की फिल्म बना सकता है. I think it's a huge compliment from David sir.
He's one of the rare directors who doesn't think of women in the normal roles that we get offered every day of our lives.
Right.
Twitter पे कुछ भी होता है तो पहला मेरा नाम आता है. Madhur Bhandarkar will make a movie on this now. Madhur Bhandarkar will movie on that.
Yeah.
Anything happens in India, so they'll always put my name.
earned
I
this.
hope Madhur
Yeah,
Bhandarkar.
You have earned this.
Yeah, earned this. Yeah. Hi, this is Madhur Bhandarkar.
Hi, this is Aahana Kumra and you're watching us on Bollywood Hungama.
Madhur Bhandarkar Aahana Kumra, welcome to Bollywood Hungama.
Thank you so much.
Madhur, I just saw your trailer. By the time this interview comes out, people would have seen the trailer, I'm hoping. Amazing trailer. Exactly what you expect from Madhur Bhandarkar. आप थोड़ा सा पिछली फिल्म में deviate हो गए थे हमको हंसाने में and you're back to doing what you do, which is hard-hitting subjects.
No, I think, Rohit, thank you so much for your compliment for appreciating the trailer of India Lockdown. But as a filmmaker, I think one should make all kind of cinema. In fact, just 2 days back, David sir called me and he saw Bubbly Bouncer. He loved it. So he was telling me, Madhur, I have to tell you this. In fact, he has seen the trailer of teaser of India Lockdown also.
Okay.
So he said, Madhur, तू हर टाइप की फिल्म बना सकता है. I think it's a huge compliment from David sir. कि तू हर टाइप का सिनेमा बना सकता है कि कितनी अलग टाइप का सिनेमा तूने बनाया. So as a filmmaker, because I am a storyteller, only thing, because Bubbly Bouncer was a film which is family entertainer, it was a comedy. But again, if you see Bubbly Bouncer, it has very real characters in the film completely. But yeah, they are humorous and the character of Bubbly itself is a humor. So every film has its own aspect of it. As for India Lockdown, it was a film which I wanted to document it. It was a film which I wanted to tell the story of what happened during the lockdown, especially the first 15-20 days. And the film comprises of that days only. It is not the complete lockdown we are talking about. The initial days, how the struggle went, and we looked into various facets of the characters, society, which people were going into it. And me and my writer, we wrote the script and we choose these 4 different characters in the film. One is a migrant worker, that's Pratik and Sai Tamankar, Aahana Kumra, who plays a pilot, Prakash Belwadi, the character who's a lonely person who wants to meet his daughter in Hyderabad, and Basu Prasad, who plays the sex worker in Kamatipura of Mumbai. So these are very different characters, and I felt it कि इनकी स्टोरी बोलना बहुत ज़रूरी है and documented कि what happened during the first lockdown. So that was very, and who would be better than me, I mean to say, the kind of subjects which I pick up and choose.
100%.
And I feel कि, and again, we did add fiction to it. It's taken, Rohit, to be very honest, it's taken by the real characters, which I've imagined or interacted or I read somewhere, and then we added fiction to it because we have to give the cinematic view to the audience also. And it was just the first lockdown got over. Things were getting normalized. And in that tenure, that was 2021, starting February and March, in 26 days we completed the film.
Okay.
And every actors were there because everybody has individual tracks in the film. And it merges together later.
Right.
So I just felt it that everybody was right. When Aahana Kumra, I called her. I said, this is the role pilot I want you to play. And she said, I love the character. I narrated the character. Prakash Belwadi was in Bangalore. I called him up, sir, I am a big fan of yours. I want you to do this role. He said, okay, Madhur, I also want a big fan of yours to come. Pratik was there, and which I wanted him to play a migrant worker. And my team was very reluctant, though, I would be honestly saying. They said, अरे वो तो बहुत सोबो हाउस है वो. सोबो हाउस नहीं, सोबो है, सोबो टाउन वाला आदमी है वो. कहाँ वो प्ले करेगा कैरेक्टर?
Too urban.
Too urban. Yeah. वही सोबो, I mean to say. तो वो कहाँ प्ले कर पाएगा? वो कैसा लगेगा? वो थोड़ी दिखेगा. And but I was very hellbound to cast him. I said, no. And we had casted Sai Tamankar for the migrant worker, a brilliant actress. And I said, nahi, isi ko main cast karunga. I called Pratik, made him sit, and he came, I remember, with this punk hair, with bluish, and wearing a big glass, and tattoos. And my assistants are looking at me, bola, अच्छा, अब इसको cast करो आप. So, ये migrant worker कहाँ से लगता है आपको? मैं बोला, मेरे को तो लगता है. So, but I told him, and I told him, he said, sir, do you think I'll be able to do this role? हाँ, तू करेगा. तू ये कर, अच्छा रोल है. Then I told him, because I'm a big fan of Smita Patil ji,
Yeah.
and I told him, I said, like, your mother has done such roles in a film like Pet Pyar Aur Paap and Chakra, one movie I remember. So I said, tu kar ye role. Will definitely be a tribute to your mother. And he said, jaise aap bolo. Then I introduced him to some migrant workers.
Okay.
When he said yes to me, then the look we changed him completely. He looked like the character. I gave him some movies of references of his mother also. Own movies. I said, mummy ki picture bhi dekho tum. Then I gave him the reference of Do Biga Zameen, which was Balla Sani, Akrosh of Ompuri. So he got the body language so right, and I just said, just be yourself. And you know, we shot in different zones. I mean to say, different location, all the four stories. And we shot in his characters in Pune because the road was there, the highway was there, we were walking towards the thing. And this is how India Lockdown was made in 26 days.
Amazing.
And very happy, and with the whole, the feedback which I've got, the people have looked, all the characters so different. I have to tell you this, Rohit, all brilliant actors I got in the film. Every actor like speaks in the trailer. If you see there, you know, there's a certain amount of emotion which comes out from them.
True. Aahana, you know, when Madhur calls, you know, every actress would be like, there's an image that, you know, that what will he do, what kind of hard-hitting subject he's coming up with. This though, you know, when you say India Lockdown and Madhur Bhandarkar, you know exactly what to expect. What was your decision making and what was his brief?
So I have to begin from the beginning.
Yes.
I've only bumped into him at every event.
Okay.
And it's always an entry and exit.
Hello,
every time
hi.
I'm entering, he's exiting. And I'm just like, hi, sir. And he's like, we have to work together. I said, yeah, sir, we'll do. So it's always been like a... So, you know him as a... So, you know, he's one of the rare directors who does not like to box women in roles. Like, for example, कि मुझे doctor का role नहीं दे देंगे, या lawyer का role नहीं दे देंगे, या मुझे, you know, like the normal roles that usually get offered to actresses.
Right.
Who would have imagined casting Tamanna Bhatia as a bouncer?
Yeah.
You know, or making a film on fashion and getting Kangana or getting a Priyanka to play like the supermodels, you know, India ka. I feel like he writes characters for women, and he's one of the rare directors who doesn't think of women in the normal roles that we get offered every day of our lives.
Right.
He's one of the rare directors who'll call you and be like, ki kuch, like you play something else. I see you as a different character. I see you as a different person. I see you as a different... And it's very, very important for us actresses to be able to grab those roles. Because ऐसे हम लोग की रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में ऐसे कैरेक्टर्स नहीं मिलते हैं. मुझे आज तक कभी किसी ने पायलट का रोल नहीं ऑफर किया है. मुझे हमेशा पुलिस वाली के रोल्स ऑफर होते हैं, या you know, मुझे कभी एक्शन के रोल ऑफर हो जाएंगे, या you know, they'll always be like, Ahana, you look too urban, so I'll cast you in this. I think what he looks at us, like for example, like I would have never thought of like Shweta being cast as a sex worker, or for example, like see Sai, I know that she's played you know, these kind of characters, but to you know, to cast her as somebody who's from Bihar, you know, or Prateek from Bihar for that matter. I think it's interesting the way he saw casting, you know. So when you know that Madhur Bhandarkar's called you for a role, it's definitely a Madhur Bhandarkar film.
Right.
And it's coming with something that is going to be a hard-hitting reality. It is going to be something where he's not going to mince his words. He's not going to paint a pretty picture. He's not going to tell a story that's going to be like all ha ha he he hoo. Although he's done the previous one like that, but you know, I mean, you still know that Madhur's calling you with a mission, and he's going to call you for a harsh reality. So, when I got called for Moon, and he told me, you know, it's a commercial pilots, more than you know what the profession, I think what really drew me close to the character was the loneliness of that character, and I think it was a very urban thing. You know, it's a very urban feeling to be able to live alone. जब आप हिंदुस्तान में रहते हैं, in India, we live with all our families, and most of the people who were trapped in our houses were all trapped with families. You know, कि हम लोग quarantine में हैं, लेकिन अपनी पूरी family के साथ हैं. So there are chores being divided every day. You know, कि आप ये करेंगे, आप झाड़ू करेंगे, आप पोछा करेंगे, आप बर्तन मांजेंगे, आप you know ये करेंगे, वो करेंगे. लेकिन जब आप अकेले रहते हैं, the life is very different, and I had never experienced that. I have never in my life only experienced staying alone, except for when I stayed alone during isolation when the second wave happened. That's when I actually realized what Moon must have felt, you know, and that is after the shooting. But here, because the script was written in such an incredible way, our scenes were designed in such a absolutely spectacular way, and I don't know if you remember, like I had so many releases, remember, during the lockdown, and every time I was, you know, doing an interview, I would like connect with a journalist, and somebody would tell me about how they are living alone. in Bombay because a lot of journalists were stuck.
Right.
So I remember so many stories of so many journalists when they came and told me, आज मैं अकेले ही हूँ, you know, सुबह से मैं ये कर रही हूँ, फिर मैंने ये किया, वो किया, क्योंकि थोड़ा
was
time
very
मिलता है ना
tough. Yeah,
Zoom
yeah.
पर,
Correct.
you know, when we
Before
chat, and
you-
I know a
before
lot
you
of
start.
journalists
Right.
who are friends, you know. So I remember like a lot of these stories of being lonely, and loneliness is a great, you know, you have to cope with it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's very difficult to cope with loneliness, especially if you have such a high-flying sort of a job where, you know, you're meeting people every day, you're like in a busy schedule, and suddenly everything shut
Switch
down और
off,
आप
yeah.
घर पे अकेले बैठे हैं.
Right,
What do you do with yourself?
True, true, true.
This is just now Sana, she just did the interview and she told me कि वो अपनी balcony से नीचे देखती थी और उसको 5 लोग भी दिख जाते तो वो खुश हो जाती थी. So, you know, there are scenes in my story where Moon is like, that's my character, you know, where Moon is looking at her, you know, वो नीचे वाली balcony में उसको अपना वो मिल जाता है, you know, there's a neighbor who she starts chatting and they become balcony friends. And then they are chatting and then, you know, he's sending her something, she's sending him something. You know, there are lots of things that happened in a society, in
Right,
buildings,
right,
you know,
yeah,
that we had no idea about.
True, true, true.
And I think through his story, I actually lived a
Right.
life of a person who can be lonely, but how to cope with that loneliness, but you find a companion. But is that the right companion? So it was great, you know, to be able to do that. And it's beautifully shot. Keiko's shot, I think each and every frame of the film is absolutely gorgeous. But I have to give it to Madhur sir for being able to cast women in roles that we would otherwise never be cast
Right.
in.
That's
So,
amazing. All
yeah.
credit to him. मतलब ये सबसे obvious subject था कि इस पे फिल्म बनेगी जब ये लॉकडाउन हुआ. But the thing is किसी ने बनाई नहीं. Like, you know, there weren't that
nobody
many
made
films.
No, nobody.
But the thing is,
Hindi ने बनाया.
yeah, there were, like, you know, but everybody knew the minute we saw the empty roads, we're like, this is a great film that is to be made here or Hollywood or wherever. But how come was this on your mind कि यार ऐसे नहीं हो कि मैं जब रिलीज करूं तभी सब लॉकडाउन की फिल्म्स आ रही है? Did this cross your mind?
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं था. मैं I thought कि who would be better than me, I mean to say, on this subject, which is very topical है. Obviously वो तो ऐसे ही होता है. Twitter पे कुछ भी होता है तो पहला मेरा नाम आता है. Madhur Bhandarkar will make a movie on this now. Madhur Bhandarkar will movie on this. Anything happens in India, so they'll always put my name. I hope Madhur Bhandarkar.
You've earned this.
Yeah, earned this. Yeah. तो I hope Madhur Bhandarkar is not thinking to make a movie on this. तो ऐसा joke हो गया है मेरे पे. तो जब इंडिया लॉकडाउन का भी मैंने किया, अच्छा अभी लॉकडाउन में फिल्म बना रहा है तो द फर्स्ट रिएक्शन वाज अच्छा अभी लॉकडाउन में फिल्म उसको भी नहीं छोड़ रहा है. I said, नहीं, I just wanted to see, but I wanted to make a film which is, like I said, documented in a real spirit how people fought that whole thing. That's why I didn't wanted to make characters are varies. One character is all different. Aahana's character is different. Shweta's is different. Sai Tamankar is very different. Prakash Belwadi, Pratik, all characters varied from each other. And I felt it कि ये फिल्म बननी चाहिए. Like Rohit, when you see 20 years from down now, I want to the generation people should know what happened during that low lockdown. And knowing me as a filmmaker who makes real cinema, they will definitely connect with it later also.
This will be a reference for
point.
future
Absolutely.
generation.
Reference point where people will connect with it. फिर वो फिल्म बनी थी इंडिया लॉकडाउन में, उसमें कुछ बताया था उसने जो रियल है बोल के. Till today also, all my movies, like, they keep coming and they keep putting shots in Twitter and this also के पेस्ट्री पार्टी में ये हुआ था, फैशन वर्ल्ड में ये हुआ था, anything. I'm like, सत्ता के कितने सीन्स अभी बीच में जब पॉलिटिक्स में उथल पुथल आया था महाराष्ट्र में तो उसकी कितने सीन्स आते थे सत्ता का. तो I remember, तो those things people do remember about it. And this was not only in India, this was a global turmoil which everybody gone through. And I'm telling you, trust me, this movie will be, whoever watches, like wherever in the world, they will connect because somewhere everybody would see a nuance of that personality into the film. They would see the situation they have been through that time. And everybody, we face the same thing over there.
Right. जब migrant workers ने चलना शुरू किया, those visuals started coming on news channels. Was that one of the triggers that this is the story that should be told?
No, because very honestly, I'll tell you, migrant workers definitely the plight we were seeing every time. We were seeing the frontline workers how they were working. There were so many deaths were taking place, and the relative couldn't reach the place. Somebody's parents is staying somewhere. Somebody's parents are staying here in Mumbai. The children couldn't come because everything was shut. And you know, they were not giving the body also to the family. They would take it straight to the crematorium. So these are the things very heart wrenching. You know, those are the things. Then suddenly one day I read that at same time things were going in my mind, and then this sex workers came. I read somewhere in Kamatipura how they are surviving, how they are जमाविंग चंदा टू हैव अ कम्युनिटी खाना साथ में खाते हैं, लंगर जैसे हम कहते हैं, साथ में कैसे खाते हैं. तो दोज आर द थिंग्स व्हिच आई रियली फेल्ट इट, यार इनकी स्टोरी कोई बताता नहीं है, इनके बारे में बात नहीं करते. सो उसके बाद आई कॉल्ड अप माय राइटर एंड आई टोल्ड के यार मेरे को एक सब्जेक्ट बनाते हैं इस पे लॉकडाउन पे. बोला सर इस पे क्या बन सकता है. तो मैं बोला बनाते, बोला बहुत
बन सकता है यार.
मतलब बनाते थे एंड दैट टाइम वी वर डूइंग जूम. हम लोग जूम कॉल पे चालू थे, वो भी वहां से बात कर रहा है, मैं भी यहाँ से बात कर रहा है. देन आई वाज जॉटिंग अप समथिंग, मतलब ये सोच वी बैक एंड फोर्थ चला. एंड वन पॉइंट पे हम लोगों ने, बिकॉज़ देयर वर सो मेनी सब्जेक्ट्स, सो मेनी कैरेक्टर्स, किसको डाले. सो हमने फिर जीरो डाउन फिल्टर कर करके then we came to the four subjects, four thing about an old man, Prakash Belwadi, who's want to meet his daughter in Hyderabad, how he'll go. Aahana, pilot, how she's been confided in the house after flying so many hours of her journey in her life. Migrant workers traveling to Bihar, and Basu Prasad and Kamatipura. So these four subjects we felt it very strong, very vital. Okay, you know, these are the things which we can have the good dramatic points in the film.
Right.
And the film is basically not anthology. It's not that one story gets over second starts or third
it's all
story.
mixed.
It's not like, it's all mix match.
Okay.
It connects. The best part of the screenplay, it connects. It's a beautifully driven film which connects the thing. It's not that people will think एक खत्म हो गया, दूसरा चालू हो गया, दूसरा चालू हो गया. There are people, but there are people who are making like that. I'm just talking, but I wanted the film to have a connect among the people.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Right. Lastly, before I move on to the rapid fire, lockdown में आना क्या था आपने जो किया जो पहले नहीं किया था?
Meditated. I've never meditated in my life.
You did it because you mentally you wanted, or because you had the time?
I had the time. And you know, I mean, I've said this earlier, like Makarand Deshpande is one of the rare few people, and Alankrita, two people who are very responsible for me moving into this direction.
Nice.
I'm somebody who's always had too much energy. You know, I just don't know sometimes what to do with my energy. I have to like go running, or I have to go and spend that much time in the gym to like really tire myself. I like to sleep at 10, 10:30, 11 because मुझे सोना है जल्दी क्योंकि मुझे जल्दी उठना है. You know, it's one of those things that I've done in my life now because it's become routine. But I didn't know, you know, earlier when I was like, I remember like the first day of the lockdown happened and I was like, अब क्या करेंगे, you know, like how to spend the day. And I realized if you just have a routine, you can, the day really gets passed quite well. I remember जब हम लोग लखनऊ में थे, मैं कभी टीवी नहीं देखती थी. मेरा टीवी से कोई लेना देना ही नहीं था. मुझे टीवी पसंद ही नहीं था. I don't remember except for Sundays हम लोग को DuckTales, Mowgli, Ramayan, you know, just start from 7 o'clock Ramayan onwards, like that special morning of Sunday जब मुझे एक बार allow करती थी मेरी माँ टीवी देखने के लिए. So I remember like, you know, there was so much free time, but I had so much to do with myself.
Right.
And I was a wanderer. Like I used to like to be in the garden, spend time lying down and doing those things because we never had social media. Video games nahi the. You know, मुझे टीवी में कोई interest नहीं था. So I did a lot of introspection when I was a child.
Right.
And I forgot to do those things when I've now become an adult, you know. So I think Max sir has told me like 100 times. He's like, तुझे तो meditation करना चाहिए, तुझे meditation करना चाहिए, तुझे करना चाहिए. And Alankrita took the first step to take me into a meditation class.
Okay.
You know, when she took me to, she took me for like a Buddhist meeting and, you know, and she taught me how to chant and, you know, those kind of things. So I was just like, what do I do? So I started with, I told her, I said, and I had called her, I said, I don't think I can do it. She's like, try. Start 5 minutes. And I started 5 minutes, then it went to 10 minutes, then it went to like 15, 20. Then I literally used to chant for an hour. And I could easily, and nobody in my house used to trouble me. And, you know, my nephew used to be like, Masi's chanting, so don't trouble her, you know, those kind of things.
And that was the time you were also not troubling them.
Nothing. Yeah, I was not. But, you know, I really got to spend time with my nephew.
Right.
And I feel like that time, I have such a close bond with him now. Because I think the two of us really, we spoke.
Nice.
And you know this generation, like young kids, they can chat like adults.
Right.
So I can really like, I could have a full-fledged conversation with him.
Super.
So I think
So
like
good
it
you
was
did
a
that,
it was a magical moment. Yeah.
Amazing.
Magical.